Hi, and welcome to Opinions on the Fly with me, Tyler, where I'm going to talk to you about an opinion I have coming out of the current Convoy Freedom 2022, but more importantly, the state of emergency that's been declared in Ottawa because of it. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be tying a fly because I keep losing them in the river. So my main point or opinion today is really talking about these states of emergency, which, you know, it's been a reoccurring theme, really going all the way back to 2003. We've had many different states of emergencies, usually related to natural disasters, wildfires, flooding, and now the pandemic, right? So what I find alarming though is that the mayor of Ottawa declared a state of an emergency, and he said this is the most serious emergency our city has ever faced. And now that's Mayor Jim Watson. And Mayor Jim Watson has been the mayor of Ottawa. He was the youngest mayor to ever be elected to Ottawa, and in his first time being elected, he was elected in 1997, and that was just before the 1998 devastating ice storm that affected both Ottawa and Quebec. Now, I could be wrong if my memory serves me right though. I do believe that over 16,000 Canadian military troops were sent to Ottawa, to Ontario, and to Quebec in a joint effort to help rescue and keep people alive, set up shelters, and help deal with the devastation that those storms. Now that happened in '98, so Mayor Jim Watson was indeed in the same position that he is in today. And yet he's saying that the Convoy Freedom 2022, our truckers and fellow Canadians that are over there expressing their discord for the mandates related or that our federal government put in, but the mayor of Ottawa is indicating that this is the most serious emergency that their city has ever faced. And I don't know if it's just because we've become desensitized as the general public, but I find, looking back on the history of our states of emergency and why we have these states of emergency, and it's just something that we've come to accept now. And the pandemic, I think, has significantly increased our desensitization to the need for our government, some who are elected and some who have just, you know, managed to hang around long enough to be in that position at the current time and state of affairs, declare these states of emergencies. I give them a crazy amount of power and ability to sidestep normal democracy. And what I find alarming with the state of emergency in Ottawa is that we have peaceful demonstrators. I mean, no matter what you say that's happening there's enough live footage on our social media platforms, and people, if you take the time to contact people that you may know or live over there and ask them what's going on, they'll tell you the same thing, that overall it is very peaceful. Yeah, you're gonna have a couple bad apples mixed in that group, but overall it's a very, very peaceful demonstration, if not actually helpful. Now, the issue, I think, for the common Canadian in Ottawa right now is probably the excessive noise, right? The horns and honking. And I did watch a live feed from the leaders of the convoy, right? The representation for the convoy, indicating that they apologized for the noise, but they're trying to get their voice heard. And they would love to sit down at the table with both the mayor of Ottawa, because our prime minister from the Liberal government seems to have completely disappeared through all of this. He can't be found. He shoots out the odd tweet about Olympic gold medalists and stuff, but yet our country's in dismay with extreme levels of division between people, groups, political parties, and he can't be found. So how are you going to sit down and have a dialogue with the government if they're simply not around? Even the NDP leader again has said, "Hey, where is Trudeau?" And he actually requested an emergency Democratic meeting because somebody needs to step up to the plate and start talking about the issues that are going on right now with this freedom protest. I think what's challenging about this protest, unlike other protests, is that this isn't just one group with one political aim. There isn't one group saying we want to cut down trees and the other group saying don't cut down trees. And it's not one group, saying pro-gas and one group saying we need to find, alternative sources. This is not limited to age, to race, to political demographics. This is people from all across Canada that are converging and supporting. And whether you're for it or against it, I guess isn't really the point here. It's that it's hard for anybody really to figure out how they're going to deal with this. But I'm not sure if declaring a state of emergency and then indicating that this is the worst emergency that Ottawa has ever faced, the severity of it, because what happens there is now we start scaring people. We induce fear, we induce panic, and the language that's being used right now is actually quite scary, indicating these protesters and everything related to it. But the concern, going back to my opinion, is the state of emergency and the legalities that gives the government. The police just raided one of their fuel stations or base stations, basically support places. And what I find alarming about that is I'm a law-abiding citizen, and yes, there's probably a significant amount of legal rules that are being currently broken by the demonstration, the protest. But why are we sending police in riot gear and SWAT gear and military-style weapons? And where's our media that's reporting on that? Because we continuously hear comparisons that this protest, the leniency towards these truckers from the police services in comparison to other protests that have happened in the past, the roadblocks and stuff. And there could be, but the one thing that I did see in all those media reports was the backlash of sending armed police officers that are better equipped than the Canadian military. And I'm allowed to say that because I spent many years in the Canadian military, both in the infantry, serving overseas, and then as a search and rescue technician before moving on in my career into the civilian world. So I think that I have a fair amount to say when I look at police groups that are better equipped with better weapon systems to go in and arrest people and ticket people is a little bit outrageous, and it's actually concerning how desensitized all of us have become. That this is a new normal in Canada, and I don't think police attending any organized protest should be allowed to move in tactical gear and with such aggression. Why would you have sniper teams pre-positioned on rooftops to go and arrest two people that are completely unarmed, that are at a holding station providing fuel and free food to people? what type of country are we in where that becomes acceptable to the general populace? And it comes back to the desensitization that we've been under this declared state of emergency for so long now that we don't even question it when somebody in government declares it. I think when this is all said and done, there'll be some severe or some serious review of powers and who can declare what and what exactly that entails. And I hope that it puts power back in with the people. I'm not saying that the convoy is right and that they should be keeping the local citizens up all through the night, but they're trying to find a way to be heard. And I think that's with any group that's demonstrating, right? All they're trying to do is have their voices heard. But when the government doesn't even acknowledge them, right? I remember when Trudeau said this is just a fringe minority group that doesn't represent Canada. Well, it's beginning to look a lot more like a very organized, well-structured, very large, record-breaking size group of majority of Canadians based on the demonstrations that are happening around Canada, and then all the other ones that are happening in support of it around the world. And if that doesn't call for a federal level response, I'm not sure what does. But again, what my concerns are is these states of emergency, and now everything in today's world, anything that happens seems to have a declared state of emergency, which just gives a copious amount of unchecked power and resources to the current government of the day. And I don't know if I'll be on the right or wrong side of history when this all washes out with my current beliefs. But what I do believe, and it won't matter today or tomorrow, but in the long term, that if we continue to just accept as soon as something is out of the norm and as soon as something is a little bit of pushback by a certain group of people in beliefs, and our government can simply declare a state of emergency and forcefully remove people with a better armed policing force than our own military, I think that should take a moment. All of us should take a moment to step back and ask ourselves, is this truly who we are as a Canadian people? Or are there better ways that we can deal with simple, peaceful protests, such as a Convoy Freedom 2022? So that's just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and leave your comments down below. If you like what I'm talking about, let me know in either the comments, subscribe, whatever you got to do. But more importantly, stay safe. And thanks again for watching. Cheers.